The Sino-US trade war remains in an intense and delicate stage of competition. Lately, there are two crucial aspects worthy of our close attention. One pertains to the Sino-US trade war itself, which can be divided into two parts. Firstly, China and the US are recently reviving the concept of mini-multilateralism. Specifically, starting today, China's top leader will successively visit Vietnam, Malaysia, and Cambodia, with the visit expected to last around 4 to 5 days. Meanwhile, on the US side, aside from its actions, we should closely monitor both Trump's personal temperament and the internal rifts within his team. Frankly, this will be highly significant for us to anticipate Trump's future policy directions. Secondly, as I mentioned a few days ago, China's Ministry of Commerce has been accelerating efforts to assist Chinese foreign trade enterprises in achieving the integration of domestic and foreign trade. Today's video mainly focuses on the first aspect, that is, the geostrategic game between China and the US, covering both bilateral and multilateral dimensions. In terms of multilateral relations, as I just mentioned, China's top leader commences the visit to Vietnam, Malaysia, and Cambodia today. China's top leader has already published an article in Vietnam's official newspaper, stating that all trade wars ultimately harm both sides, which represents China's official stance. As I've previously pointed out, this choice is of great significance. In the future, China's mini-multilateralism will generally develop along two lines. One is Europe, and the other is Southeast Asia. In Europe, the engagement may start from Spain, and there could also be interactions with Germany and France. In Southeast Asia, China's top leader is taking the lead. The three countries, namely Vietnam, Malaysia, and Cambodia, respectively represent different types of countries in Southeast Asia. Vietnam is a complex case. Superficially, it shares some ideological similarities with China. However, there are disputes over the South China Sea sovereignty. Simultaneously, it is a region highly coveted by the US. Moreover, it has been slapped with high tariffs by the US. Among the countries involved in this game, it was one of the earliest to show submissiveness to the US, but it is geographically close to China and has also had a military conflict with China. Additionally, it has become one of the popular manufacturing bases for Chinese enterprises going global recently. With so many factors intertwined, winning over or stabilizing Vietnam is of prime importance in China's Southeast Asia strategy and its neighboring region strategy. Malaysia represents a group of more pragmatic countries that mainly concentrate on economic and trade cooperation. It attempts to maintain good relations with both China and the US. Cambodia, among these countries, has relatively friendly and amicable relations with China. The nature and degree of relations of these three groups of countries, from Vietnam via Malaysia to Cambodia, are different. So, starting today, you can also closely follow our daily live broadcasts, where we will conduct a detailed analysis of China's construction of mini-multilateralism in Southeast Asia. Regarding Europe, the situation is undoubtedly more intricate. Since Europe is not the focus of our discussion today, I won't elaborate on it. Generally speaking, as I said last time, we need to strengthen multilateralism in certain aspects and, for different target countries, it is necessary to play down existing strategic conflicts and ideological differences. Now, let's focus on how Trump's team views his decision-making. As we all know, saying that Trump changes his mind 3 times a day might be an overstatement, but it's not an exaggeration to say he changes his stance every 3 days. Not long ago, he announced the imposition of a staggering 145% tariff on China, which was actually of little practical value. Immediately, China retaliated by imposing a 125% tariff on the US. Then, yesterday morning, we learned that he has exempted some products from China, such as computers, screens, telephones, and their main components. This is essentially a move to ease the pressure on US enterprises, especially Apple, which couldn't withstand the strain any longer. During this process, we can analyze it from 2 aspects. One is to analyze Trump's personal character, and the other is to examine the specific differences within his internal team. Trump's character is evidently highly emotional. Psychological research indicates that he has great difficulty in controlling his emotions. With a slight external stimulus, he may lose control at once. Such a personality, from a psychological perspective, has certain characteristics that were rather common among Western leaders in the mid-20th century. People with such personalities are likely to bring disasters to the world eventually, and Trump's character shows rather obvious and even serious signs of this. Secondly, there are significant differences within his team. The differences between Musk and Peter Navarro are quite evident, and I won't go into details. Trump often heeds Peter Navarro's advice, but in my view, Navarro's thinking logic is completely wrong. The key is that Trump only listens to him. We should also pay attention to another person, former US Vice President Mike Pence. As the former Vice Head of State of the US, we should be prudent in commenting on him. However, from his past behaviors, family background, and his repeated disrespectful remarks towards China recently, we can roughly discern some of his personality traits. Given his position, we won't use overly emotional language to comment on him. But at least in terms of personality, it can be said that his personality is not perfect or even stable, which is related to his occasional out-of-control behavior in public, whether towards his allies or opponents, and his lack of decorum in his speeches. For example, about a couple of months ago, when Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the White House's Oval Office, a conflict ensued among him, Trump, and Pence. When we look into the essence of this incident, we can see that it was actually Pence who instigated the conflict. His original intention was not to have a confrontational clash, but to curry favor with Trump. However, in the previous political culture of the US, such blatant sycophancy towards the boss, to the extent of personally attacking the head of another independent country, is quite rare in the political history of the United States. Coincidentally, Trump is a person who is easily provoked. When his deputy flattered him and the other side fought back, Trump completely lost his temper. So, it turned into a war of words between Trump and Zelensky. In fact, it was Pence who triggered this incident. If we analyze this small detail thoroughly and then look at Pence's recent series of remarks on China, including his disrespectful comments like calling China a peasant country, we can better understand his mindset. According to psychological research, such remarks often reflect what a person lacks in themselves, which is related to their original living environment. Anyway, as a former US Vice President, we won't comment on him too much. I have already commented on Musk and Peter Navarro, and now I've commented on Pence. Considering these three people, and given that all three of them have lived and worked around Trump at some point, it was no surprise to me that Musk was the first to part ways with Trump. When Trump first took office, I predicted that it was inevitable for Musk and Trump to split because Musk, in terms of personal ambition and the things he pursues, conflicts with Trump and at least some members of Trump's team. Musk is a person with his own ideas, although some of his ideas may be both advanced and a bit irrational. I'm still studying his values and won't comment on them here for now. Today, I've commented on Pence, and I hope this can offer some inspiration to everyone. This is not about idle gossip or being a bystander. Instead, it's about seriously studying Trump's personal character and personality traits, as well as how his team's actions may prompt him to make different responses, just like what happened in the Oval Office. That's probably why his decisions often change erratically. Whether we talk about first principle thinking or the strategy of hitting the key point, once we understand these principles, we can likely infer what kind of responses and decisions Trump may make when facing different problems in the future. In this process, there are actually many theoretical and even technical models that can aid in such inferences. For China, responding to changes with constancy is our fundamental approach. This is not only manifested in the firm countermeasures of Chinese enterprises. Although Trump suddenly exempted some consumer electronic products from China, we haven't made further statements for the time being, leaving ample room for flexibility. This room can be used for de-escalation, potential counterattacks, and more diplomatic negotiations in the future. Finally, I'd like to quote a statement from a recent BBC report. They noticed that a spokesperson from China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs posted a video and some remarks of the founder of the People's Republic of China on a social media platform. These remarks were about the Korean War, stating that the Chinese would fight for as long as the Americans desired and would accompany them until complete victory. The BBC reporter finally said that when the Chinese refer to their founding leader, It shows that the Chinese are truly serious. Thank you all for your attention.